But I'm Jennifer Underwood. I'm a professional development specialist in Florida, like Jody said. And Jody, my co host, is manning the chat. And we are excited to be able to talk about the panel itself, the hardware. And I am honored to have one right here in my home office, right? And so there is a smart display for every classroom. And being able to support teachers in their workflow and help maximize student instruction. So the smart IQ, or the brains of the entire panel or the board, and like she said, there is definitely a reason behind that. It is the smart brain. So I'm not connected to my device except for the camera right here in Zoom, so you can see me and hear me. But the brain is where all of the magic happens, right? So those left side brain people, right? Those analytical people who it's important to have that functionality to be able to sign in, right? And look at those settings and be able to really customize your panel and your board and be able to use the files. We have some file sync we're going to talk about, have everything in one place for you to be able to access, whether you're on your laptop in Smart Learning Suite, you are using your Google integration, you're using your Microsoft Teams integration. We also have that functionality on that creative side of the brain, right? So those right-sided thinkers, that whiteboard, pulling in some multimedia, pulling in some different tools and interactions that we'll be able to use with those different backgrounds, images, videos, widgets, and then a ton of ready-made activities that you can simply click and then move students through a different learning experience right from the content that you create on your board. So if you are at your panel, which would be a wonderful thing, but we understand that you might not be. So when you are at your board, to operate that OPS, or the brains, the IQ, you're just simply going to click your input button and select the OPS to access the brain of your panel. So within our IQ system, we have some ways that you can personalize your experience, right? We're talking about the teacher workflow of instruction. So in order to personalize, we want to be able to sign in. So I'm going to just grab my pen just to kind of annotate and share as we go. You're going to sign in with this small little avatar up here on the top left-hand side of your screen. This is going to give you that file syncing capability where all of your lessons and everything that you have access to on your device to share with students are also accessible here within our file sync. We can also customize by pulling up the wallpaper. So I'm going to click my home button for just a moment. And I found an old school USB drive. I'm going to click my settings and I'm going to go to wallpaper. So the lesson I'm going to share with you today is all about different styles of leadership, different characteristics of leadership. So maybe I want to move from this green, grassy background to really emphasize my unit of study. So I'm going to pick a new image. I'm going to pick that leadership image. I'm going to go back to my home. And now you can see I can really customize the look and the feel just from my board itself, focusing on our unit of instruction, focusing on something thematic, and I am signed in. So this will carry with me. If I happen to be a teacher that moves from classroom to classroom, I will have all of this at my fingertips, just like I would my laptop device.
Hey, Jennifer.
Yeah,
can
of
you,
course.
people are saying we can't see you full screen. Can you double check your setting to
Do I
make
keep
sure you're
falling off
full?
the edge?
Well, they say that you're not in full screen, so I want to make sure that you are.
My video is on the board, and I was trying to maximize all of the landscape on the board, and all the tools seem to be over here. So I can go like this.
Well, look on your settings in Zoom and see if you're full screen. Are you?
That was off. Video settings.
And also, if you look at full
Everything's checked.
screen, go up to view, go full screen at the top. Can you do that?
I can.
And then on your end, everyone, if you have up in the upper right-hand corner, you have a little view button. If you click on that, you can also go full screen on your side.
I was
See if
in
that helps out.
gallery view. All it did was change my look. Like
Okay.
I can see you, but not all the tools anymore. I did angle it. I know I keep walking off the edge over here. So hopefully that's better.
Let's see how it goes. So,
I wanted you to be
go
able
ahead and
to
go.
see the hardware as we went. All right, so let's get back into my file. So a couple things for you as the teacher to be able to personalize your experience on your panel and think about those core functionalities. Like, what do I need? And what, as the teacher, do I want to really have access to? So we have that interact. We're going to talk about interact and connect. So interact with our ready-made activities. You're going to interact with some new pages and some new backgrounds. Now I'm falling off the side. We're going to pick up a pen like we have just done and really emphasize some of our things and pull in those images and those widgets and those videos. I'm going to share with you a lesson that we're going to simulate as a student experience. So we're also going to talk about connecting and using all of these same tools to leverage student devices with independent handouts in collaborative workspaces so students can contribute and connect and collaborate with the content that you have on your board, just like you'd be able to in Smart Learning Suite online from your device, from the cloud. And like we said, having all of this access in location when you're signed into the board. And even download PDF files from the browser. And I'll share with you that as we move forward. So I'm going to hit my home button. Depending upon the version of your hardware you have, your home button might look a little different. Mine's just that long bar, but the OPS functions the same way it would no matter what the framing of your board may look like. So here is my desktop or my home screen, and I'm going to select a new whiteboard page. Being that this is October, whoa, feels like the time has just flown. It is February already, which is hard to believe. We're going to talk about leaders and the qualities of leaders. So when I click my new whiteboard page, I have a variety of different backgrounds here that I can select from. A whole bunch of different ones. I'm going to go a little on edge here and kind of select our brick wall. I always think of this maybe as our graffiti board. We're going to use this as a brainstorming board. I'm going to pick up my pen. I'm going to just double check that you're going to be able to see my pen. We'll do purple, and that I am using a thick line so that those of you at home can see, since I am currently kind of using this video to share with you from the board. So I am going to start with the word leaders. Now, this could be something I'm doing as direct instruction. This could be something that I want to have my students join in on if they are not sitting in front of me in the classroom. And to do that, I could click here on my roster. I'll just put a little arrow. And from here, I could send this out as a handout or as a collaborative workspace so that students not only could yell out to me what they want me to add or come up to the board and add it themselves, but they also can use their devices and add if we're working as a whole group. And Jody, please feel free to interrupt as questions are popping up. And
while we're still trying to figure out the whole screen thing, if you can use Spotlight yourself as the speaker. Everybody's giving great suggestions.
Because I'm not like screen sharing, I'm just standing in front of my computer.
You'll have to Spotlight, so everybody will individually have to Spotlight Jennifer.
I can pin, but then that gets rid of you.
You don't need to see me, but everybody would have to pin.
Yeah, I think it's an individual thing. You'd have to pin on your own.
That was it. Michelle said that was it. Yay.
Okay, well, I'll leave mine pinned,
Yeah,
and
that was
hopefully
it.
yours
Okay.
is pinned, and
okay,
now I'm
this
just
works.
staring
Cool.
at myself in a
Thank you guys for helping to problem solve that.
Yeah. Well, we haven't missed much because all we're talking about is brainstorming leaders. So we want to talk about characteristics of leaders, right? So I'm going to keep my pen nice and big. And let's say a couple of characteristics would be empathy, honesty. If we had time to share within this webinar, I would have you guys sharing some of your words. Trust. I'm going to even put up communication. And look,
I love all of those.
I can erase with my palm because I made the M with like 4 camel humps, which is weird. Got excited. Communication. These are all great leadership characteristics. So with my two fingers, because of the object orientation and that it knows, I can kind of zoom in, right? And as you see me doing this at the bottom, you can see, let me do it a little better. I'll move communication around. You can see this grid. Here we go. I'm going to hold my finger here. You can now see a grid of a 3x3 space. So I have tons of space beyond just like that little bit of that full screen, small screen, right? So I can use all of this space and I can slide all my words to a new position on the page. Right? So now we know we've talked about who leaders or characteristics of leaders. Let's erase this. Let's talk about some of the leaders that we have experienced that have really made positive contributions to society. Right? So we have Gandhi, MLK Jr. I was talking with the kids and they said that Tom Brady is really a charismatic leader. Think about the different teams. If you are into sports ball, think of the different teams that he has led and been able to encourage to move forward. Even, I'm going to spell it wrong. Here we go. Elon Musk, like a variety of historic and present day leaders, right? So I can take this space that I have, this massive space, which you can see, I have my characteristics, I have my leaders, and I can kind of keep moving these. If I wanted to use my second icon, I can do the select all, right? So I'm going to select it and I can highlight everything. Maybe I want to just move it off to the side if I don't want to move my space. So there's a variety of tools that you can see right here behind me that students also have when they are working in those interactive handouts in those collaborative workspaces.
Now, what's nice is that you also can lock those down. So a question came up is, and Michelle, I hope this is what you were asking. So the background that is expanding, you are not able to like freeze that. So unfortunately, but anything that you put on, whether it's an image or like what Jennifer has on there, she has some text, you can take any or all of it and touch it, tap it, and then lock it down. And then your students aren't able to, move it around.
Right. And also you're not able to because you could accidentally
You can
or
do it though.
inadvertently, right? I had
Yeah.
communication all
Yeah.
over the place. So once I'm going to click out just to show you. So I'm going to tap once to select it. I also have a pull down, so I can delete that if I didn't want to just erase, or I can actually lock that. And let's say the brick wall I thought was going to work for me. Maybe I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. So I'm going to go to my thumbnail where I have all of my pages, which I only have one, and I'm going to click more, and I can change that background. Maybe I really should have just done white. That would have been a little less distracting, but a little bit easier for everybody. So you can do that right there on the fly. And if this page was something I didn't want to push out to students, this was something we were just marking up on our own, I could even delete that, which is a very new feature for us to be able to click more and then just delete that page altogether. But I want to add some pages to this. So there is a plus. I know my head just fell off the side. There is a plus down here at the bottom next to my navigation tools. And I would like to add another blank page. For this particular blank page, I'll just keep it simple, keep it just white so that you can see it. And I have my pen, my select all, right? And I also have my third icon is my adding online content. So I want to add an image. Let's add an image of, well, actually, I can pull, which I came over here to see. I don't know if you could see it because of the coloring, but I can take that dynamic toolbar or keypad and I can move it around. So that if I have some students are at the board that need to be able to reach it at a little bit of a better height, you can move it around. If I happen to be standing over here so that I don't fall off the side of the board, then I can pull it over here. So I'm going to go with leadership traits and click go. So I can insert images to any of the pages that I was working on. I also can insert some videos. So let's one click on the 7 traits for great leaders. And if I click on the video, it'll start. Takes up the whole space. If I wanted to click again, it'll pause it, but I also could go to my roster and I could start sharing this with students at home. So maybe watching this from the board in our particular setup is not ideal, right? Because of the way the video is. But if I want students to really be able to interact with this video, maybe complete a graphic organizer, I can start sharing this video so that they can access it when they're in my class from home. Let's say I want to add a graphic organizer. So we've talked about our leadership characteristics. We've talked about who some leaders are. Let's pick our thinking frame graphic organizer. So as an I do, maybe before our I do, we do, you do kind of experience, I want to grab my pen and let's say we're going to do a thinking map for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So notice that I've done text, right? I can select my text, right? The whole thing is selected and I can use my little arrow to kind of reposition it because I went a little crazy with pulling it out there. And here's where maybe I want to lock it. Maybe I don't want anybody to be able to, especially me, move it around my screen. So we're going to think about the things and kind of do some research and some discussion about our leader. Well, to do that, I have some tools still here on the side. I can pull in some images like I have been doing. And right from this graphic organizer, I'm going to click one time. I can pull that into a spot and I can reposition it so that it fits nicely on my page. I can click out and then it's not selected. So let's say I want to add another characteristic. We know that she was the second woman on.
And that's the United States Supreme Court.
Supreme Court,
right?
Yes.
Because I know we have some people from different countries. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. So the second woman on the Supreme Court, we can continue to add other resources. I could add some videos about her that would pull up on my page. I can add some more text and pull in a variety of different things right onto my graphic organizer. So let's say as students are working on this, you also decide that you want to assign an acrostic poem. Something different, right? So instead of just giving them a blank page to work on, we have some manipulatives. And you'll notice here in our manipulatives, we have coins, we have math manipulatives, we have some clocks. We even have the music manipulatives for the music teacher and some other things with dragging different objects and giving everybody the opportunity to interact with some manipulatives. So here's our making words manipulatives. And you can see, I'll grab the R, that these are infinitely cloned. So I have an unlimited supply of my alphabet letters. If I wanted, I could take my pen and I could give myself a title. And I can pull in, we'll pull in Ruth, right? So that acrostic poem, I taught 4th grade. We did a lot of acrostic poems. I could pull out additional words, right? So you find the letters of the first name or the whole name, and then you think of characteristics that start with that letter to fill in the rest of the poem. So we could do honor. That would be a great characteristic. And I even can write. Sorry, I have to select my pen first. So depending upon your learning objectives and what you're accomplishing, you have graphic organizers, you have those videos, the images that are all safe search and appropriate. You can pull in different types of manipulatives to continue on with your same lesson or break out of in a new lesson and start the next content area. So let's say that for this particular lesson, we've given students the chance to work a little independently, work on their own, work with the teacher independently, and we want to pull in some widgets, pull in something that's a little interactive. and be able to kind of pull all this together, right, for our leadership. So we have our pen tool, we had our select all tool, we had our add multimedia tool, our add image. We also have our widgets. In the widgets, I've pre-selected and pre-made a spinner. So I'm going to select my spinner one time. I'm going to click anywhere on the page. I'm going to click a little bit outside of my spinner, and I'm going to drag my handlebar down to zoom in a little bit. So when I'm ready, I can click my spinner. My spinner started, I'll show you, click a little bit outside. In my settings from the drop-down menu, my spinner started with 4 categories. I have been able to customize it and add 2 additional categories so that we have 6 for students to work in. So I'm going to grab it with one finger and kind of slide it over.
I love that spinner. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Think about how you could use that for so many different things. Like it could be reflection questions. It could be your students' names, right?
Yep. And you can have different colors. You can put the text in. There's maybe so many
group 1, group 2, group 3. I mean, you can have so many.
And what I've done, if you click a little bit outside of it, is because this was already pre-done, it was under my plus my widgets. So I can have this ready. Like Jody said, if this was a reflection question, I could pull this up anytime I'm doing reflection, and then students are able to work with those questions without me having to recreate the wheel, haha, pun intended, on a spinner each time we're using it. But let's say for this activity, I want my spinner, but I'm going to also go to my widgets and pull in a die. So I'm going to click a little bit outside of the die. If you click on it, it starts to spin. I'm going to move it over a little, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Here from my pull down, I can add it to my widgets, or I can customize it with the settings. For this time, we're just going to spin it, right? So we're going to spin the die, spin the spinner. It's landed on MLK Junior and on maybe another graphic organizer, or in a journal, or in some other tool. I'm going to ask everybody that worked on the Martin Luther King Jr. Leadership Project to share one fact about Martin Luther King Jr. If I really wanted to get into it and really excited, I could click my widgets again, and I could add a timer. And maybe I'm going to do a 1-minute problem. So I'm going to set my timer. I'm just going to slide it down just a tad.
You do have to practice when you're on the board.
Yeah.
You have to practice with the widgets a little bit. And the key to moving any of the widgets is to take your finger and tap a little bit off of the color of it, and then you'll get a little square box on it, and then you'll be able to move it. But it does take a little bit of practice, because if you tap right on it, especially on the spinner and the dice, it'll start spinning, or it'll start rolling. And so you do have to practice those a little bit. Takes a little.
It's kind of like that finesse of it, and being able to 2 fingers to zoom in and out and all that kind of stuff. But think of all the possibilities of pulling in your spinners and your die, and you're customizing things that now you have new ways for students to interact with this curriculum, which is super exciting. All right, so let's say I'm going to hit my home button and I'm going to move from my whiteboard space. So I'm going to open up my browser. So all of these different lessons, different research projects students might be doing, all of these, maybe they have a correlation or a connection, right? So I'm going to find a world map. And I tried that one before. It was super busy. So let's try this world map. If I long hold on that world map, I can download this image, which is also very exciting. And then I can use, right here it says, my detailed word map. This is a JPEG, but PDF files can be pulled in, and I can click open. So now I can take my same pen that I've been using while I was on my whiteboard, or while I was in my, my SLS files, and I can start to annotate on different parts of my PDF, my image, and you'll see that it's been added a layer, or like a transparent layer over it. So let's say all of my students have been doing some research on their leaders that are from all different parts of the country. And we can continue to shape that and share that information and record it as we go. We don't have permission to write over the internet, but we can write over and as a layer as we're annotating. So up here in the top right, I have an X. Maybe I want to save it. Maybe it's something we were just doing as a piece of our direct instruction that I don't need to save and come back to later. But I have those options of being able to save or to discard. So I'm just going to click discard on this particular one. And I'm going to go back to my home. If I want to find where that image or my PDFs are, I have all my files, right? Because I'm signed in. I also have all my SLS files. And now I also have all the things that I've been able to download. So that's a great way for you to interact with content, your online curriculum, and content beyond what you are just making, things that you have, resources that you have.
And one of the other things is that, as Jennifer is pulling that up, is when you sign in to your smart interactive flat panel, you will have a little icon in the upper left corner. That's where you will sign in. You'll sign in either with your Google account or your Microsoft account, which is your smart credentials. And then if you do that, then if you are a Smart Learning Suite Online user, then all of your files will be waiting for you at the board. They will all be there. If you open up a whiteboard space and you are creating this and you want to save it for the next day and use it again, it will show up on your device inside your Smart Learning Suite Online homepage. So it works either if you start it on the board or if you start it in Smart Learning Suite, you can do either one. One of the questions that's come up is, can we add to our files that we import to the board, Jennifer?
Yes, of course. So this is the file that I started. You can see it has 6 pages here. Here was my intro page and all of our different pieces of information. I'm just going to hit the plus. And once you hit the plus to add content, you have the option to add a blank page, a shout it out, which we didn't talk about, but a shout it out when students are connected to your board, they can contribute and post. Then you have your graphic organizers and your manipulatives that we just looked at.
And for more clarity on that, Michelle, if you want to add files, it could be like a PDF that you have inside your Microsoft account or your Google Drive. You can also bring in your PDFs. You can bring in your PowerPoints. You can still have those and just play around with them. So try it. Yes, absolutely.
And we have lots of great webinars happening every week that address and go over all the different tools that you can experience. While today was just about the IQ or the brains of your board where I'm not connected at all, I have still access to my lessons and my files and a wealth of information and resources that are at my fingertips within the brain or the IQ of my smart board. Great question. So I'm going to share with you a challenge. I would like the next time that you are in front of your board for you to sign into your board. Make it a regular habit. Sign in the morning. Sign out at night before you leave, or sign in if you're transitioning to different classrooms around your building. And all of your tools and resources will be there for you. Add a background. Try that brick wall. Try some of those geographical shapes or those. One of the kids' favorites always the dots, and right away they want to play that square game. But think about, what can I do with this in math, and how can I use this in different curriculum areas where I can really hone in and emphasize something with that background, that visual. And then add some ready-made content. Is it a graphic organizer attached to a video? Is it an image where students can tell a story on their graphic organizer? Or maybe it's a video that you want them to learn something new about, and then use a big blank page just to connect and process all that new information, kind of open it up to whatever they can imagine. And put it together as a lesson and try it right from your board. Click the share, right? I'm going to click my people. I'm going to be sharing. I can make things into individual handouts and collaborative workspaces, which you can learn more about that in our future upcoming webinar sessions that Jody has some more information about.
I do. And you know what's real, I always tell teachers is like, we're giving you license to channel your inner kindergartner and just poke at your board and go, what's that? What's that? What's that? And so we're going to give you license to just touch your board. You're not going to hurt it. Discover all the wonderful tools that are waiting for you. There are so many that are coming your way, and Jennifer just shared quite a few of them. Do you want to tell us a little more about the resources, and I'll put them in the chat?
Yeah, that sounds great. So the resources are here. There's a link to get you started. And as you notice, when I click inside my lesson, it takes me to the browser, right? Here's all my tabs. And I can even zoom in a little bigger. Here's what Jody is sharing. Too big. Here's what Jody's sharing in the chat. Now I'm not going to be able to zoom out just because. And there's some other tools. I'll just keep on going. There's some other tools that are listed inside of our resources that are way too big. If you are using different tools, different things to be connected, our teacher guides have been updated and are brand new with wonderful videos embedded in them. So reaches all types of learning styles. So we hope you reach out to us, follow us on social media, work on that challenge and post your results in social media. And we look forward to seeing you on our future upcoming sessions.
I love that. And I have posted quite a few in the chat. So I'll leave that up for a little while. We have a few minutes for some Q&A if you want to ask some questions from Jennifer or have her repeat something or show it one more time, because it does go in and out. But the survey is at the very end, and that's how you're going to get your certificate. Is a really short survey. We'd love to hear and have some feedback. And then once you get to the end of the survey, there'll be a survey link. That's how you'll access your PD certificate. And other than that, we're going to hang out for a few minutes and see if you have any more questions.
Yeah, I'm happy to demonstrate anything that you'd want to see. Pull up something you haven't seen if there's the time permits. This time I'll try to stay on the screen. I noticed at one point I had fallen off.
No, you're doing great. I'm going to also put how we can connect with you on Twitter.
Awesome. And thank you, Jody, for handling all of the questions in the chat and really expanding and clarifying when necessary.
You're more than welcome. Absolutely.
It's exciting to think of the possibilities.
Thanks, Melissa. I love to see familiar names, and I know that Melissa's been with us before. Oh, Lisa, your new board should be here next week. Oh, now, Lisa, can you tell us where you're from? I know you probably did way up there, but so we can get excited for you. Okay. Okay, so Lisa Johnson. So a couple things. Oh, Lisa, New York. Oh, where are you going to attend the tech conference? I mean, because we're doing, I'm doing, I guess, a session tomorrow at the tech conference. So you should join me. Then I'll know who you are.
Put registration info in.
There is a question. So Lisa is asking, is there any way to get the dice to an activity when you're using Smart Learning Suite online?
Okay. Oh, so, I could just left that up. I can pull up that page.
So Lisa, at this time, the widgets are not functional in Smart Learning Suite online, but it is on the roadmap. It'll be here sooner than you think. And then that way, because if you're a Smart Notebook user, you have the widgets inside there, you have them on your board. And now the next thing that the developers are working on is getting the widgets to interact inside Smart Learning Suite online. So just stay tuned. But at this time, if you send out one of the whiteboard to your students and it had a widget on it, it just wouldn't show up for them, unfortunately, right now.
There's some other great game-based activities that can enhance and kind of shift. I know it's not the same as the widget, but you can kind of shift some of the ways that you're having students make those choices.
Yeah. You know what, Melanie, I'm pretty sure we do have quite a few word building activities. There's an email with Jennifer. I know which one you're talking about, those fridge magnets and the other flash materials we used to have. Unfortunately, flash is gone, right? But I do know that we have some other ones, and we do have that making word one, the manipulative that Jennifer shared earlier that she's showing right now. But because of flash, was unfortunate. But I think there's some things that are very familiar in Smart Exchange. I love the making words. I do too. I can think of a whole bunch of other ways to do it. Awesome. Thank you. So Lisa, what you're asking for is you can add the dice to the board. Yes. But when you share out the activity and the students get it on their device, they're not going to have the dice on the board or on their device. They'll only see it on the board.
So think about adding a blank page. So you have your spinner or your die on the board, and then students would interact on a blank page to be able to add things to. Or and if they're in the classroom, maybe they come up, hand sanitizer after, and be able to interact with the content that's at the board. I love seeing the board used as a station or a learning center when it's viable for social distancing, depending upon where you live in the country. We're in Florida, or I'm in Florida. So in Florida, we are face to face and, of course, hybrid, like many of you are. So having those different opportunities for students and still having them interact from home while you're being able to interact with students that are sitting in front of you in the classroom.
So another
Great
thing,
question.
Michelle, which training would be best for new users to try next? So it depends on where you're starting, your entry point is. If they are already Smart Notebook users, then just learning how to use Smart and bringing it in. If you're a Google user, that one is a really great one to see how you can take all your content that you already have in your Google Drive and import it into Smart Learning Suite Online without reinventing the wheel and then adding and layering upon those. We also do a getting started with Smart Learning Suite Online, which is literally the basics. We kind of take a field trip around it, and we just kind of, walk you through it as if you're a brand new user. But if you're a Google district, Google users, we have a couple of those coming up. I think we have one coming up in about 3 or 4 weeks. But the link again for those, you can see most of them that are coming up is right here. I'll put it back in the chat.
Yeah, the next one that's coming is Notebook. So I was trying to see just to grab a visual of what was next.
Yeah, we got that. But I would just say getting started with Smart Learning Suite Online. Next week is getting started with Smart Notebook, because if you have a license and you have a device that has the software on it, then Terry will be doing the facilitating next week on getting started with the Smart Notebook. But yeah, there's a couple, and Michelle, the Google one is repeated a couple times, and then the getting started with Smart Learning Suite Online is repeated monthly. So, and on a different date, different time, so that we can hopefully reach as many people as possible. Okay, awesome. Bring a friend, Michelle, bring a friend, right?
Definitely.
We love it. We do love that the idea of the board is a standalone, and that's really where we're progressing to, right? So you don't have to be connected to the board. You can just stand right up at the board. You can interact with the board. You can move away from the board. You can facilitate whether you're face-to-face in the classroom with your students, or all of a sudden you have to go back to remote. You still can continue the teaching and the learning with your students. Yeah, I love that. Michelle says, cut the cord. Yep. I'm going to use that.
Yep. But
That's
if you
what
are
I'm gonna
interested
do.
in keeping the
I love
cords still connected, my next webinar is
That's
actually
right.
the tethered experience, so to speak, with the Smart Ink, Smart Document Viewer, and Smart Recorder. I want to
Which
say
is
March
huge.
1st. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so, I mean, my gosh, we could be here all day,
I
but
know,
we're going to
right?
let
I
you
was
have
going
your
to say,
day back.
here are my cords. We're ready for next time.
All right. We'd like to thank Jennifer and everybody. And I love the conversation. That is so awesome. And I appreciate everybody's time and energy. And like I said, bring out that channeling of that kindergartner and just go to your board and touch it. And hope to see you on the next webinar, and go have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.